Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Eastchester Board of Fire Commissioners, September 27th, 2022. It is now 7:05. Please, I'm going to open the meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Please salute the flag, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move right into the promotional and award ceremony, and then we're going to adjourn afterwards and come back for our open meeting. So I turn this over to Chief Tween.
Thank you, Commissioner. We're going to begin by swearing in our promotional candidates. If the captain candidates are here, could you please come forward to be sworn in? Captain Tomasini, Captain John DiBattista, and Captain Robert Pinaval. You can stand right here. And Commissioner, if you want to use the microphone. Thank you.
Gentlemen, I have my cheat sheet. I apologize. Please raise your right hand. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
I do solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
the Constitution of the State of New York,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of Fire Captain
of the Office of Fire Captain
of the Fire District of the Town of Eastchester,
of the Fire District of the Town of Eastchester,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Okay, next we'll have the swearing in of the lieutenants. If they are available to come up, Lieutenant Frank O'Rourke III, Lieutenant Eric Castiello, Lieutenant Joseph Costanzo, Lieutenant Dominic DiRienzo, Lieutenant Alex Del Bracco, and Lieutenant Frank Greenbaum. Please come to the front. Come over here, guys. There we go.
You guys, all right? I do solemnly swear,
Raise your hand.
I'm sorry, raise your right hand, that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and I will faithfully discharge the duties of Office of Fire Lieutenant of the Eastchester Fire District of the Town of Eastchester, according to the best of my ability. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Thank you. All righty. Before we start the commendation part of the ceremony, I just want to recognize some of the local officials that are here with us. We have State Senator Shelley Mayer. Thank you for coming. To get my cheat sheet. Sorry. Okay, from the village of Tuckahoe, we have Mayor O'Mira Andino. Thank you for coming. From the village of Tuckahoe trustee, Nicole Engelbert. No, not here tonight? Okay. She RSVP'd, so, okay. I'm sorry, could you say it again? Okay. From the village of Tuckahoe, trustee Kara Cronin. I believe Amy Paulin RSVP'd, but she said she was going to be a bit late, would probably make it about halfway through our meeting. So thank you to Amy Paulin. I believe Tony Calavita said he might stop by, but I don't. Oh, Anthony Calavita. And thank you for letting us use the room. We appreciate it. Okay. I think I broke it. I wanted it. I have a quote in my office from Dwight Eisenhower. And it says, "Leadership consists of nothing but taking responsibility for everything that goes wrong and giving your subordinates credit for everything that goes well." So that's what we're doing tonight. We want to make sure we recognize the members, the officers, for doing a good job that they do every day. So the first award tonight is kind of bittersweet. Our retired Captain Phil Pinto passed away earlier this year, and he's to receive 2 awards tonight. So if we could ask his wife, Lisa, to represent him and your family. We're going to give the other members that were on the call their awards. And, remember Phil Pinto. He was such a good leader. He was a captain in the fire department and in charge of Group 4. And he was a lieutenant under me when I was captain. And he was just an all-around great guy. So we'll get rolling. Jamie, do you mind coming up? So we'd like to ask Lisa Pinto to come to the front to represent Captain Phil Pinto, Lieutenant Eric Castiello, Firefighter Anthony Polero, and Firefighter John Howes, if they are available to come up front. On behalf of the fire department, thank you so much for allowing Phil to serve with us. Should have printed it with bigger font. On Monday, May 4th, 2020, at approximately 0630 hours, 6:30 in the morning, the Eastchester Fire Department was dispatched to 20 Dorchester Road for a mail down in front of the residence. Engine 27, staffed with firefighter Eric Castiello and firefighter John Howes, and Car 2102, staffed by firefighter Anthony Polero and Captain Phil Pinto, responded to the scene. Upon arrival, the crews found an approximately 60-year-old male patient lying on the ground where Eastchester police officers had initiated CPR. CPR was taken over by the Eastchester Fire Department members as evac paramedic Matthew Cataldo began ALS interventions. The patient was defibrillated once by Eastchester police members, and Eastchester Fire Department members and the paramedic worked together to get the patient back with a heartbeat, and the patient began breathing on their own with assisted breaths by fire department members. The patient was transported to White Plains Hospital and was ultimately discharged from the hospital with 0 defects. If not for the swift, professional actions of the firefighters, Eastchester police officers, evac paramedic Matthew Cataldo, and the evac crew, the victim would not have survived this situation. These fire officers and firefighters acted in the finest traditions of the fire service. The following members are recognized for their actions with an EMS Class 2 citation. Captain Philip Pinto, firefighter Eric Castiello, is now Lieutenant Eric Castiello, firefighter Anthony Polero, and firefighter John Howes. Don't go too far. You got another one. Eric?
Amy Pauline just walked in. She's by the back.
Congratulations.
She just sat down.
Certificate. Tony, congratulations.
This, no.
Job well done.
Sit there.
And you're, all right, thank you. Would the following members please come forward? Captain Robert Pinaval, firefighter Anthony Polero, and firefighter Robert Grogan, if available. Should have told you to stay close, too. On September 12, 2020, at 1300 hours, the Eastchester Fire Department and EMS were dispatched to the Leawood Golf Club 16th green for a reported man down. Engine 31, staffed with Lieutenant Robert Pinaval at the time, now Captain Robert Pinaval, and firefighter Robert Grogan, and Car 2102, staffed by firefighter Anthony Polero and Captain Phil Pinto, responded to the scene. Fire department units staged at the Leawood Road Maintenance Access Gate and cut the chain, providing access to the golf course. Fire department members and medics commandeered several golf carts to access the 16th green to provide faster access to the patient. Upon arrival, the crews found a 60-year-old male lying on the green in cardiac arrest with deep blue pallor to his head. Fire department members began CPR as medics Mark Rubin and Joe Bushignago began advanced life support intervention. I apologize if I butchered that name. The patient was defibrillated once by the paramedics and CPR was discontinued, at which point the patient began breathing on his own. With being assisted by the FD, the patient began to regain consciousness and began communicating with first responders. Captain Pinto had returned to the access gate with one of the golf carts to escort the ambulance to the proper bridge to cross to obtain access to the 16th fairway, and they made their way directly to the green. The patient was packaged for transportation to White Plains Hospital. A 12-lead EKG was performed while en route and did not show any deficiencies at that time. If not for the swift professional actions of the firefighters, paramedics Rubin and Bushignano, and the evac crew working as a unit, the victim would not have survived this situation, which is complicated by being in a difficult location to access. These fire officers and firefighters acted in the finest traditions of the fire service. The following members are recognized for their actions with an EMS Class II citation: Captain Philip Pinto, Captain Robert Pinaval, firefighter Anthony Polero, firefighter Robert Grogan. Robert, congratulations. Here's your pen, your certificate. Tony, congratulations. Good job. All right, thank you. The next award is being presented to Captain Bruce Yazzo. Would you please come forward? On Wednesday, September 1st, 2021, at approximately 2000 hours or 8 p.m., the remnants of Hurricane Ida arrived with a fury. The Eastchester Fire Department was dispatched to 51 Joyce Road for a report of a man in chest-high water, unable to get out of his basement. When units responding to the scene could not reach the location due to rapidly rising impassable water and another unit being disabled, Captain Yazzo arrived on scene in a command vehicle alone, proceeded on foot to the incident in chest-high water. Captain Yazzo established that the party did not need rescue at that time. He then responded to 37 Lispenard Avenue on a report of persons trapped in vehicles and homes. Captain Yazzo again waded in chest-high water and confirmed vehicles were unoccupied and the homes evacuated. Captain Yazzo continued checking vehicles and homes for occupants in chest-high water, at times being totally submerged, and on multiple occasions was alone without additional firefighter backup nearby, as he was the first to arrive on the scene. Captain Yazzo acted in the finest traditions of the fire service and is being recognized for the unusual personal risk to ensure the safety of the residents of the fire district with a Class III citation.
Congrats.
The next award is for Lieutenant Frank Greenbaum. Would you please come forward if available? How you doing? On Wednesday, September 1st, 2020, One, at approximately 2000 hours, the remnants of Hurricane Ida arrived with a fury again. The Eastchester Fire Department was dispatched to 207 Old Wilmot Road, Scarsdale, for a report of elderly residents unable to evacuate their home. Upon arrival, the arriving units found limited access to 4 homes located between 205 and 211 Old Wilmot Road due to chest-high water. 2 elderly residents of 207 Old Wilmot Road were stuck on their front porch. They did not want to shelter in place. Firefighter Greenbaum donned an ice rescue suit while units set up rope tag lines from the house to a safe area. Firefighter Greenbaum put life jackets on each victim and tethered each victim to himself and walked them across the chest-high water to a safe area, one by one, to an awaiting ambulance. Members of Engine 30 tended the rope while maintaining tension and slack. Lieutenant Greenbaum acted in the finest traditions of the fire service and is being recognized for the unusual personal risk to ensure the safety of the residents of the fire district with a Class 3 citation. All right, I need a drink of water for this.
Frank, I'm gonna come over here and make it easy on both of us.
12 members of the department. If available, will Captain John DiBattista, Lieutenant Dan Olivier, Lieutenant Eric Castiello, Firefighter John Pinto, Firefighter Rick Hall, retired, Firefighter Ken Simonides, Firefighter Jerry Longo, Firefighter William George, Firefighter Vincent DiBattista, Firefighter Sean McGee, Firefighter John Vernazza, Firefighter Michael O'Leary, Firefighter Jeff Hill, and Firefighter J.C. Navarrete. If available, please come forward. You guys in the back, why don't you just stretch down the aisle a little bit so you're not blocked? All right, thank you. On Wednesday, September 21st, at approximately 2000 hours, the remnants of Hurricane Ida arrived once again with a fury. The officers and firefighters of the Eastchester Fire Department responded to more than 200 requests for assistance over the next 48 hours. There were areas of the district that were inaccessible by vehicles due to flooded roadways. Members were wading in chest-high water, sweeping around the ground with 6-foot pike poles so as not to fall into an open manhole or a lowered driveway. The members' actions ranged from rescuing people from flooded vehicles, checking numerous abandoned vehicles with the assistance from the local police departments, investigating a retaining wall failure that landed onto a home's gas meter, assisting Con Ed with numerous gas leaks, pumping out flooded basements, securing utilities in flooded basements when necessary, rescuing people from flooded basements, assisting persons unable to evacuate their homes on flooded streets, and in the middle of those actions, they provided apparatus to respond mutual aid to a Scarsdale Fire Department for a structure fire. These officers and firefighters acted in the finest traditions of the fire service and are being recognized for their teamwork and outstanding actions. The following members are recognized with a unit citation: Captain John DiBattista, Lieutenant Dan Olivier, Lieutenant Eric Castiello, Firefighter John Pinto, Firefighter Rick Hall, retired, Firefighter Ken Simonides, Firefighter Jerry Longo, Firefighter William George, Firefighter Vincent DiBattista, Firefighter Sean McGee, Firefighter John Vernazza, Firefighter Michael O'Leary, Firefighter Jeff Hill, and Firefighter J.C. Navarrete. Congratulations. Here you go. All right, Lieutenant Olivier. Congratulations. Nice job. Lieutenant Castiello. Congratulations. Nice job. Firefighter DiBattista. Nice job. Congratulations. Mike. Nice job. Congratulations. You got JC. Firefighter Navarrete. Congratulations. Excellent job. And Firefighter Hill. Congratulations. Is that it? All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Excellent job. Before we start the next award, I just want to mention that storm on September 1st, 2021. I monitored the storm. I left work at like 7 o'clock that night, and it was going to be like a rainstorm, right? Like we get late afternoon thunderstorms all the time. Well, it rained and rained and rained. It rained probably 2-3 inches an hour for a couple hours. In the streets, we lost one of our vehicles, got flooded out. The guys didn't have the proper equipment. We had ice rescue suits that we were doing rescues in, which make you float in the water, which is not ideal. So since then, we've done analysis. Lieutenant DiRienzo and some of the other officers looked at what kind of equipment we needed for water rescue as opposed to ice rescue, and we purchased that equipment. We've trained with that equipment. We purchased a new boat, and so we have made changes since then so that we're better prepared to serve the residents. So that was a little bit of a wake-up call, but the commissioners put some money into it, and we've made the department better for that. The next award is for Captain Robert Pineval, Lieutenant Dan Olivier, Firefighter John Vernazza, and Firefighter Paul Kendall. If available, please come forward. On Monday, May 23rd, 2022, at approximately 14:41 hours or 2:41 p.m., the Eastchester Fire Department was dispatched to 38 Mill Road for an unresponsive male. Engine 27, staffed with Lieutenant Olivier and Firefighter Paul Kendall, and Car 2102, staffed with Firefighter John Vernazza and Captain Robert Pineval, responded to the scene. Upon arrival, the crews found CPR being performed by a nurse. The Eastchester Fire District members, EVAC Medic 1, 2, the EVAC BLS crew, all worked together in a calm and professional manner, continuing CPR, and the paramedics administered advanced life support measures. The patient was shocked several times. The efforts of all on scene produced a positive outcome as the man was revived. These fire officers and firefighters acted in the finest traditions of the fire service, and these members are recognized for their actions with an EMS Class 2 citation. Captain Robert Pineval, Lieutenant Dan Olivier, Firefighter John Vernazza, and Firefighter Paul Kendall. Excellent job. Lieutenant Olivier. Nice job. Congratulations. Firefighter Kendall. Nice job. Thank you. Okay. For the next award, would Firefighter Anthony Polero please come to the front? On Thursday, June 2nd, 2022, at approximately 15:50 hours or 3:50 p.m., the Eastchester Fire Department was dispatched to 111 Sagamore Road, Tuckahoe, for a report of an imminent birth. Upon arrival, Firefighter Anthony Polero assisted Tuckahoe police officers and EVAC members in the birth of a baby girl in the apartment. Due to the actions of all the agencies working swiftly and professionally, baby girl Ava and her mother have had a positive outcome and are doing well. Firefighter Anthony Polero acted in the finest traditions of the fire service, and he is recognized for his actions with an EMS Class 2 citation. For the next award, would Captain Robert Pineval, Lieutenant Frank O'Rourke, Firefighter Anthony Polero, and Firefighter Jeff Hill come to the front if available. On Monday, July 4th, 2022, at approximately 08:31 hours or 8:31 in the morning, the Eastchester Fire Department was dispatched to 111 Alcamont Avenue for a male not breathing. Engine 31, staffed with Lieutenant Francis O'Rourke III and firefighter Jeff Hill, and Car 2102, staffed by firefighter Anthony Palero and Captain Robert Pinaval, responded to the scene. Upon arrival, the crews found CPR being performed by Eastchester police officers. Engine 31 members assisted the EPD members with CPR. The remaining Eastchester Fire District members, EVAC Medic 1 and 2, and the EVAC BLS crew all worked together in a calm and professional manner, continuing CPR, and the paramedics administered advanced life support measures. After 20 minutes, the patient regained a pulse. The efforts of all on scene produced a positive outcome as the man was revived. These fire officers and firefighters acted in the finest traditions of the fire service, and the following members are recognized for their actions with an EMS Class II citation: Captain Robert Pinaval, Lieutenant Francis O'Rourke III, firefighter Anthony Palero, firefighter Jeff Hill. Well done. Lieutenant O'Rourke. Congratulations. Job well done. Firefighter Palero. Congratulations. Good job once again. And firefighter Hill. Congratulations. Nice job. All right. Very good.
Oops, I got it.
This will be the final commendation for the evening, number 9. Would the following members, if available, please come to the front of the room? Captain John DiBettetto, Lieutenant Frank Greenbaum, firefighter Joseph Lucenti, firefighter Michael O'Leary. On Tuesday, July 5th, 2022, at approximately 09:59 hours, or 9:59 in the morning, the Eastchester Fire Department was dispatched to 7 Downer Avenue for a 49-year-old male unresponsive with CPR instructions being given by the dispatchers. Car 2102 and Engine 31 responded to the scene. Upon arrival, the crew of Engine 31 assisted Eastchester Police Department members with CPR. The remaining Eastchester Fire District members and the EVAC crew all worked together in a calm and professional manner, continuing CPR, and the paramedics administered advanced life support measures. The efforts of all on scene produced a positive outcome as the man was revived. These fire officers and firefighters acted in the finest traditions of the fire service. The following members are recognized for their actions with an EMS Class II citation: Captain John DiBettetto, Lieutenant Frank Greenbaum, firefighter Joseph Lucenti, firefighter Michael O'Leary. Lieutenant Greenbaum. Congratulations, Chief. Job well done. Firefighter Lucenti. Congratulations, Joseph. Job well done. And firefighter O'Leary. Congratulations. Job well done. All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Good job. Hey, good job. I got this. You know, I'm going to take it away until
And I wanted to mention that State Senator Shelley has provided commendations from the New York State Senate. So each of the members that received promotions and each of the members received, and each of the members that received commendations will be can receive these. I just see Amy Paulin in the back, our New York State Assemblywoman. I'm sorry, and Darrell Taylor. Do you want me to take this? Thank you so much for coming. You want to do a 15-minute break or 10-minute break? What do you want to do?
10 minutes is fine.
Yeah, we're just going to let the guys come up and get those sets. So at this point, I think we're going to, if the board is okay, unless they have some comments, we can adjourn the meeting for a certain amount of time. And, you know, some of the families may want to clear out if it's bedtime for the kids. I want to thank everybody for coming, and congratulations to all the officers and firefighters that received awards and promotions. Thank you.
How about Chief Tween?
Thank you.
All right, we're going to adjourn for 15 minutes, but before, I just want to say that I think we have the best bunch of guys in Westchester County. So I think congratulations to everybody who did a great job every day, not just for these one-offs, but our guys they always do the best. So congrats.
I would just like to say, for all our local politicians, our assemblywomen, our state senator, you could see the job that these men do. I'm proud of them, and I can remember when a lot of them were young little guys. But I am really proud of them, and I'm proud of this community that we live in. Good luck, guys.
That's it? All right, thank you,
Thanks,
everybody,
Chief.
for coming. We'll be having our regular meeting starting in 15 minutes.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Okay, welcome back. We're going to open our regular meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and before we start that, I just want to introduce our newest district chaplain, Reverend Dr. Matthew Waterstone is here tonight. We have his ID and his badge.
Nice to meet you. Thanks so much.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
Reverend, welcome aboard.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
There you go.
Of the Bronxville Reformed Church.
Free card and enjoy.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to our treasure report. Jamie?
Okay, thank you. So earlier this month, we had a special meeting that was a budget workshop where we went through line by line a proposed budget for 2023. The board has to adopt a proposed budget by this evening, and then our budget hearing will be held on October 18th, where that proposed budget will be finalized. There is the ability to alter the budget between now and October 18th, but tonight a budget does have to be adopted. From where we left off at the last meeting, the budget that we have for presentation this evening is identical to the budget that we reviewed at our workshop. The only difference is that there is an increase to our New York State retirement cost. The reason for this is because we had rates at the time, but we had not received a projection yet, and the projection actually did still come in higher than what was anticipated with the rates. So the rates across all tiers had increased about 4.5%, and the projection came in just a little bit higher than we had anticipated. So that's the only change that you will see in the budget in front of the board for adoption tonight than the budget we reviewed in detail at the last meeting. So I'm happy to get into any detail or if the board has any comments. I want to point out that this budget does not include the appropriation of fund balance, which is something that we did in the last 2 years to try to keep our tax levy a little bit lower. Most of the costs that we're looking at, these are operating expenses, these are now recurring costs, these are costs that get more expensive each year, and so it really needs to be built into I recommend that it gets built into the budget rather than continuing to appropriate the fund balance. We do anticipate surplus at the end of this year, around about $1.6 million. That is lower than in previous years. However, with the apparatus purchases and all of the work we know we need to do at the different firehouses, we certainly can appropriate fund balance if the board wants to, but that is something to consider. The budget
Jamie,
that
but the board just on that point, but the board, even though we'll have a reserve, is contemplating, or the majority of the board is contemplating borrowing money to buy things, right?
Yes, so we are contemplating financing the tower ladder that was agreed to be purchased in August for just over $1.8 million, because that we don't have we don't have that. That would either wipe out everything we have right now that is unreserved, and obviously it exceeds, if I said, about 1.6 million. So we were looking into financing options, and we're going to talk about that tonight as well.
Right, so at almost 21 million, even if we purchased outright the vehicle, we'd be in the red, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, so the
want everybody to
financing, yes,
understand
the
it.
financing is built in. The financing is built into this budget that is in front of us. That is also going to be one of the items that causes the increase. But that is in here as well. So that, yes, we do have built into here financing for the tower ladder that was purchased, estimating, potentially around $400,000 per year for 5 years. But I think we're gonna talk about that tonight also, about our financing options and which way the board wants to go there.
I want the residents to know that the budget is being proposed at almost $21 million, and we're also borrowing money.
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct. That is correct. This budget includes 79 paid firefighters and officers. Our historic budgets included 74 paid firefighters and officers. So that is one major difference in this budget. As I mentioned, our certain costs outside of our control, right? Retirement system, that had a significant increase going into 2023. Our healthcare, which is one of our largest expenses, they do not provide estimates anymore of rates. They don't release their rates until November. Rates increased last year over 12%. So we estimated for this budget about 10%. And so again, that's one of the main increases. So as we said, about 87% of our budget is made up of comp and benefits. And if you look at the breakdown of the tax increase, so the proposed tax levy is 1.7 million higher than last year. Part of that is the 640,000 that was appropriated, which that amount alone would exceed the tax cap. That's 3.4%. That were operating costs that we've built in the last 2 years without raising taxes accordingly. The remainder of the anticipated increases to the expenses of about 1.1 million is broken out about 76% salary and benefits and 24% operational. With the operational of about $270,000, the majority of that being the financing of the tower ladder. Let's see.
And the data shows, just so everybody knows, the majority of the board is looking to hire 5 new firefighters, that with the notion that it will sort of decrease the overtime. The data over the last 12 years shows that that's not true, right? The more firefighters you have, the more overtime you're paying.
Yeah, I mean, this would be brand new, having additional 4 firefighters that my understanding is will act as relief firefighters so that their positions are not creating overtime, but rather they're there to cover overtime. And also in the periods between, when someone retires versus the next time we can send someone to an academy, or when someone goes out on a long-term injury and there's nobody there to cover. So this is unique. This is a new scenario, but yes, I mean, the overtime numbers we think we looked at the last 10 or 12 years. You didn't see a great correlation, I guess, between more firefighters and less overtime.
The more we had, the more overtime we had.
Let's not forget that for the last 3 years, we were running short. It was during the middle of COVID, and the board was wondering why they were paying so much in overtime. We had just enough personnel on the roster if everybody came in to cover the tours. If somebody called out sick, it was overtime, because we had no relief men left. And that's why the overtime budget went so high.
Let's just see how next year pans out before we start assuming that it's always going to be high. I think it's going to drop, but let's wait and see.
Well, you're budgeting for a big overtime number, though, with the hiring of
Well,
another.
that's just the budget. So if we don't spend the funds, then we allocate the funds somewhere else. But let's just see how it turns out. I mean, you're already
Not only,
assuming we're going to have high overtime next year, and we haven't even. The guys just came on the job a few months ago. Let's give it a chance to see what happens.
not only have you not decreased the budget for the overtime, but every single year, and at least the last 2 decades, it's exceeded what's been put into it.
I think it's going to change, so let's wait and see.
Don't see it.
Just look at the last 10 years.
We're looking at the data, it's not me.
And
I'm
if
looking
you
at the
look at the last 10
data.
years, we're off by 100. You look at the last 10 years, Jamie's numbers, we're off by $100,000. That's budgeted versus expected versus actual. $100,000 in 10 years.
For what,
That's her numbers.
for what?
Overtime. We're off by 100,000. Was she budgeted
We
for
paid
it, or we actually
$1.2
spent it?
million in overtime last year. They were up by,
Over 10 years, we're at a $100,000 discrepancy, right? Is that what it is, Jamie?
I think the average was something like that, but the last year we had increased the budget up over 800,000 and we had 1.2 million in overtime.
So-
But if you look at
Right.
the sheet that we're all thinking of, I think over that full period of time, the average was between $100,000 to
you went
$200,000
from
over.
consistently budgeting $500,000 in the beginning of each year for years before I got on the board, and then shortly thereafter increasing it, right? And it totaled in close to $1 million each year. And then last year, or the year before that, you put in $800,000, and then you went up to, you.
And you
had-
talk about COVID.
Let me just finish. You put in $800,000, and you paid $1.2 million.
Okay.
So I have to say this, is Scarsdale, who covers 2 square miles more than Eastchester, its operating budget right now is $10 million.
They're a totally different organization.
I
You know
understand,
that.
they're they're a
They're
combination.
spread out, half the population, they're spread out. They don't have the buildings we have in this town. I
Yes,
don't know
they
why you
do.
keep comparing us to Scarsdale.
Listen, they have a little bit smaller population,
Okay.
but they cover 2 square miles more than we do, and they have plenty of big buildings.
Really?
Absolutely. Go to Scarsdale Village.
Okay, well, I don't want to talk about this all night. Where are we going with this?
So I just want to make sure the public knows that Scarsdale is operating at $10 million a year on their budget, and Eastchester is at $21 million. They're going to borrow another $2 million, and probably within 10 years, the budget will be $30 million, maybe 3 times the operating budget of Scarsdale that covers larger area than even the town of
With a
Eastchester.
force that's half volunteer.
It's not half, I don't think the numbers, Chief, you may know that, but here's the issue with that. The town of Eastchester also has volunteer money streaming in each month that doesn't go to fire protection, right? It goes to, I don't know what the proportion is, I haven't seen this order from the court, but I understand that the volunteers, wherever they are, get 55% of that, maybe $200,000 per year, while the union gets 45%. I don't see the taxpayers getting that. I don't see that money going towards the budget, whereas it isn't going in Scarsdale. And Scarsdale's no different. They're right next door. You're saying that Scarsdale doesn't protect
Yeah, they
their
protect,
district?
yeah.
Yeah, so
But they're a different operation. They don't do
We need to look.
They do no EMT runs.
they don't do EMT
Okay, so
runs.
what do you-
So for me, I would rather have people who do that discipline help me with that. I don't want to send
What do you suggest we do?
I think we need to
Do
look at the
another
budget.
0%
I
budget
think
where we close the firehouse down possibly, or someone's life is at jeopardy, or property? Is that what you want to do?
No, I don't think we need 5 extra firefighters.
Okay, well, we have them. And let's
I
let's
understand-
see how
I
let's
understand-
just see how
I
it
understand-
pans out before we start saying, oh, the OT is crazy.
I
again.
understand that.
Let's
I'm
just see how
trying
it
to
looks next
impress upon the 3 of you. I understand you have them. You have the power of the board. I get it. But I'm trying to impress on you some fiduciary duty here that we must.
We have fiduciary duty. We also have a duty to protect and serve and save. And that's my goal. And if it
I
costs
understand.
$19 million a year to do that, I'm okay doing that.
Yeah, it's 21,
It's not
but
21, it's 19.
it is going to be 21 by the end of next year.
Well, I'll worry about
Jamie,
next year. Let's see
21
the-
almost?
We don't know that.
This is at 19.8.
With the 5 firefighters and their increases and the overtime, we'll be at 21.
Let's see what the
Is that a
overtime.
fair? I'm just trying to be fair.
It's possible. It's hard to say, I mean, because we do anticipate,
It's not going to be 19.
right,
Okay.
I agree. I mean, we
To
do
be fair.
anticipate retirements. Those are, more expensive firefighters that are going to be replaced with less expensive firefighters. That should impact some of the costs, as obviously salary cost, retirement system costs. But yeah, it's hard to say.
So please go on. Sorry for the interruption. I just needed to make sure that
Yeah,
everybody
but
knew that.
I want to say something. We're bringing Scarsdale compared to Eastchester. Scarsdale, like Commissioner Carlos says, doesn't have what we have. They only got 3 firehouses. Look at the size of our town. We stretch from North End all the way towards the Pelham line, Mount Vernon line. We got quite a bit of
All right, I'm not
more,
going to go, I'm not
and we
gonna-
got 5 firehouses. Scarsdale has 3 firehouses.
That's the point.
Two on
They're
22
doing 2
and one
square
in
miles
Crossway.
more, Anthony, than we are,
Yeah.
with
But
their 3 firehouses. There's
They
no
only-
loss of life. They're protecting the district just like we're protecting the district.
And they
There
get
has to be,
They also get mutual aid, just like we get mutual aid from other communities, too.
you're just making my point. Okay, Paul, if you, if you want to go on, but
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure
I wanna get
that
through
everybody understood where the numbers are really going here. They're double what Scarsdale is, and I'm positive that Scarsdale's doing just as good a job at protecting the district.
I hope you never need to call us for anything.
What's that?
Hope you never need to call us for anything.
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
Why,
family.
I pay my tax money.
All right, so you'll get it then.
This is my job.
Okay.
This is my job.
Yeah, and we're.
To look at the
We are
numbers.
protected. Stop comparing us to Scarsdale.
That's like an emotional extortion.
Okay,
We're
Jamie,
not
can
going
we,
to come to your house.
Can we, Jamie, you continue, please.
So, I mean, unless there's any other questions, the budget that is presented tonight does exceed the tax cap. We were limited to 2% this year. We had a carryover available to us, which would have brought it to 3.8%. The New York State inflation factor was 7.17%, and Social Security's inflation factor is 8.7%. However, we were still limited to the 2%. So this, if the board was to pass the budget as is, they would also need to override the tax cap, and those motions would be made at the budget hearing. So for tonight, a motion is just needed to adopt the proposed budget. So the budget in front of us, just to summarize, is for $19,837,022.50. It is a 9.8% increase from last year.
10%, almost. It's a big numbers, tough times.
Yep.
I'll make the motion.
All right, I'll read the resolution. Number 115-2022, motion to adopt a proposed budget for 2023 with total fire district expenditures of $19,837,022.50 and tax levy of $19,816,022.50. The proposed tax increase is 9.788% and includes salary and benefits for 79 paid officers and firefighters. The proposed budget will exceed the real property tax cap. The board will move for final budget adoption at its meeting on Tuesday, October 18th, 2022, at 7 p.m. in the evening at Fire District Headquarters after the completion of a public hearing. Paul, that was your resolution, the first one?
I'll make-
I'm sorry. Did I get a second?
I'll second it.
I'll call the roll. Commissioner Laurie?
Aye.
Commissioner Ranalone?
Aye.
Commissioner Keating?
No, absolutely not.
Commissioner Carlo?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
So the only other item I have for discussion this evening does relate to the tower ladder financing that we were just talking about as part of that discussion. So we agreed to purchase the tower ladder in August. And then we are now in the process of determining how we want to finance that ladder truck. So we have 2 options that we have looked at. So Pierce uses PNC Equipment Leasing Group, and they are able to offer us, there's a lot of flexibility here. So we've spoken with them, and we've spoken with JP Morgan, who is our current bank, and they're both really able to offer us however we want to structure it. We can structure it. It seems like interest rates will be very similar. So the original proposal that came from PNC was that we would do a 5-year lease, a 5-year payment term. I don't want to call it a lease. They would pay up front for us to take advantage of a prepaid discount. So right now, If we were to finalize the financing by October 16th, we would get about a $52,000 discount on the truck. As the more we wait, the less that discount becomes until ultimately that discount goes away. So the arrangement that was proposed to us was that we would take the prepaid discount, set up a 5-year payment terms with PNC, and the most recent proposal that they gave to us, that would be about $400,000 each year. And that's based on about a 4.26% interest rate. We had discussed that we would make our first payment in June of 2023, as that'll be right after we have our tax collection. And as I mentioned, there is money for the tower ladder built into this budget. We do not anticipate taking delivery of the tower ladder until the beginning of 2024. So both PNC and JP Morgan can work up terms in that way. Like I said, I believe rates are going to be comparable. They're both indexed to, the current rate. Obviously, they're increasing. There was just an increase last week of, 75 basis points, and another increase is expected on November 1st, and then another one in December. And the Fed has sort of forecasted at this point that they see, another increase in 2023 and maybe rates coming down in 2024. So this is one of those things when you talk to a financial advisor, none of us have a crystal ball to know whether it's going to get better or not. Other options, again, because we don't necessarily have to prepay. So if the board says, the $50,000 doesn't seem like a significant enough discount for us to make a payment, to enter into this agreement now, start accruing principal and interest for a vehicle that we're not even going to have for, 18 months from now, we could forego the discount and we could look to financing at a later date. We can look to it closer to delivery. So we have to pay upon delivery. That's the only requirement. How we secure financing is up to us. Whether we want to take advantage of this prepaid discount is up to us. So with the agreement that we have in front of us from PNC, and like I said, JP Morgan could put together something identical if you wanted a comparison to see if there was a difference in interest rates. That's one of our options. And then, like I said, another option is to wait until we get closer to delivery. So it may be the case that we say, the $400,000 we put in the budget this year, we have to put towards it rather than put it towards financing. We maybe have if we have surplus at the end of this year, we say we're going to appropriate X percentage of that or X amount of that to this tower ladder so that ultimately down the road in 2024, maybe we're financing a smaller amount of money. That's an option. Maybe the rates are better then, maybe they're worse, we don't know.
Jamie, why not, Paul, why not just make the budget bigger and outright buy it? It's the least expensive way.
You being serious?
No, I am actually being serious. Like if the majority board wants to do that,
So we thought it would be better to maybe spread the cost of the fire truck over 5 years, so the population or the residents share it equally, as opposed to, let's say, someone who lives in town today is going to pay a big chunk in an increase and could move out tomorrow. Yet someone moves in tomorrow is not paying anything toward the truck. So I'd rather spend it over 5 years.
I know, but you could find so many variables though there, where someone says, I move out in 5 years and I never got benefit of the truck. Or
Well,
there's a lot of that.
I understand, but we're not raising the budget more than it is, so we have to finance it. And I'm almost leaning towards waiting till we get closer to delivery and then look at our options then for financing.
Okay.
That's my opinion. If anybody
Right?
else has
Raise the
any other
budget to
thoughts?
23 million and then move it back to 21 or 20, or right?
And you can do it in 2024 when you're on the board, yeah.
Okay.
So you need a response to us if we're going to
Well,
either...
it just as long as, you don't actually have to make a decision right now. It's just, I just want to make sure there's an understanding that there is a discount that's available to us currently that will continue to diminish,
It's only $52,000.
but it's
right?
only, right now, it's only $52,000 on a 1.852 million. So that is. And right now, if you speak to the banks and they said, this was pre-December of 2020, everyone was waiting upon delivery to pay because the interest rates were nothing and they were static. And now it's, even just trying to get them to put together a quote, it's like they quoted us on Tuesday or Wednesday, and then Thursday the feds raised interest rates. So it's like that quote already is not good anymore. So that's the only thing, is we're in a bit of a volatile, market right now. But if you do feel that as we get closer, we may need to finance less, and then you can also look at other terms. You can finance it over 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, if you want to make it more mirror the life of the asset. That's an option.
The least expensive way, though, to pay for it, though, would be to raise the budget again, right now, pay for it, and then walk away from raising it again next year, that amount of the vehicle. That's the least expensive way.
Well, right, because then you're just paying.
You're buying it.
You're buying it. You're
Right,
paying
and even in
the cost of
3
the
years,
vehicle.
when it comes time due, you raise the budget then at $2 million and say, hey, I need the money for this, and you buy it at that moment and not finance it. I don't understand why the majority of the board wants to finance it when they're already raising the taxes. Why not raise the taxes to the amount that you need? You need the truck, right? You've asked the chief says I need the truck, raise the amount to that amount, and then pay for it. It's the least expensive.
We could do it next year's budget.
Yeah, we're not paying for it in this year's budget.
I understand that. I'm trying to help out here, believe it or not, as a fiduciary, to try and have the residents pay the least amount of money for what they need. Establish what they need, and then you try to pay the least amount for it. Not affecting what you actually are paying for. You're still assuming you're still getting the same item. Right? So they should know that. The board should know that. Hey,
Right, yes. I mean, that is, obviously, the least cost would be to pay for it outright.
I'm not a numbers guy, but it seems simple enough to me.
Right. So that is. But so if, like I said, if the position of the board at this time is that we want to revisit financing down the road with the understanding that you lose the prepaid discount and you lose locking in a rate today, which may or may not be a better rate than you'll get in 2024. That's what I want to make sure that the board understands, and I will communicate that to
That's
both
the point I'm making.
both
that
potential lenders.
If they borrow, they lock in now, right, and say, okay, we're going to pay 4% because we get 4%, but in 2 years they need to pay for it. In 2 years from now, they can pay for it outright with the power to levy. You can pay for it outright in that moment and not have to be locked into paying 4%, because that 4% over those 2 years are going to total more than having to pay for it outright in 2 years from now or 3 years from now. The
Right.
price won't change. I'm assuming you locked in on a price with the vehicle. And so I'm not a numbers guy, but it seems simple enough to me.
So is that where?
So my point is, leave the financing loan and think about what you want to do here. If you want to get it, you should buy it and pay less for it.
I will point out that if we are to receive it in the beginning of 2024, you will have approved a 2024 budget before receiving it, but not have received your tax money yet.
And
So that is
there's one small downside, right? That if you lock in to the money, I just lost my train of thought. I'm not a numbers guy, but if you lock into the money, the tax cap, meaning that it's okay, I know what he's talking about. I don't want to pay the 4% this year, next year, when I can pay and I can levy the taxes in 2 years from now or 3 years from now. I'll pay for it outright then and there, hand the check. At that moment, does the tax levy, if it exceeds a certain percentage, does it cost you more? Does it cost the residents more? And by extension, because of that single purchase, does it cost more for the purchase itself if you amortize it over the whole district? You get that?
Yeah.
That's another consideration for
Yeah.
them when they're thinking about this. Not a numbers guy.
Okay. So then at this point, we don't want to secure quotes right now. We'll Is that what we're saying?
I'm sorry?
So right now, we don't want to secure quotes for the 5-year or whatever term leasing the board is interested in?
I do not know.
Okay. Okay.
It's going to cost the taxpayers more money to finance it when they don't have to. And the second you get it, every single resident that lives here or those that will come will all benefit from it. And people who aren't residents, who come and visit on any single day where we save them, they don't have to be a taxpayer to, right, Chief? We don't look at, we don't ask them for whether they're a resident or not when we're saving them, when they're going through their cardiac arrest.
Of course not.
You're not doing that, right?
Do not check IDs.
Okay, so fine. So that help?
Okay. All right, that's everything.
Thanks, Jamie.
Thanks, Jamie. Chief?
Thank you, Commissioner. August 2022 monthly activity report, alarm activity 341 alarms, fire-related 9, EMS and rescue 190, received mutual aid 1 time. It was a second alarm fire up in the north end. I'll mention it later in my report. New Rochelle Fire Department came to the scene and assisted. It was a very hot day, so our guys needed some relief, and Mount Vernon and Greenville Fire Departments went to our fire headquarters to cover for us. I want to say congratulations to all the members that were recognized for being promoted or received a commendation tonight. Vehicle maintenance continues through the use of outside vendors. Tim Dalton's weekly reports were emailed to the board. Fire prevention reports were also emailed to the board. We currently have 2 members out on long-term absence. One should be coming back in about 2 weeks. The other one, there's no timeline on his returning to full duty. We have 4 probationary firefighters that began the Career Fire Academy on September 6th, and so far the reports from Lieutenant DiRienzo is that they are all doing well. The fire district has eliminated using paper apparatus check reports, and the members are currently using iPads and desktop computers to record their apparatus checks. Thank you to Lieutenant Joseph Costanzo for inputting all the equipment for all the rigs and setting up the program. He also conducted the Vector Check-It software training for the membership so they could use the computers. On Saturday, as I mentioned, on Saturday, August 6th, Captain Robert Pinavallen, Group 1, responded to a second alarm fire in a 2-story commercial building at 99 Montgomery Avenue in the north end of Eastchester. They encountered heavy fire in a first-floor office area upon arrival and quickly extinguished the fire before it could spread to the other attached businesses or the second floor. The members performed exceptionally well under hot and humid weather conditions. Thank you again to the mutual aid companies from New Rochelle, assisted at the scene, Mount Vernon Fire Department, and Greenville Fire Department for covering our empty stations while we were at the fire scene. I had mentioned that last month, but since it did happen in August, I just wanted to make sure. If anybody missed it, it was pretty good fire load in there, a lot of paperwork. It was like a machine shop, but it was in the office area, so there was a lot of files and paperwork and stuff. So the guys did a good job in containing it to that one business. And I respectfully request that the board close tonight's meeting with a moment of silence for the passing of retired firefighter Lawrence Mignon, badge number 100, who passed earlier today. He was appointed to the career staff on July 14, 1979, and retired on July 24, 2009, after more than 30 years of service to the fire district. I worked with him, as did Commissioner Ranalone. Very nice guy, local guy. So he's sad news that we found out he passed today.
Great, thanks, Chief.
Thanks, Chief. Hey, Chief, can we take 1 second to talk about Tim's job that he did on the Bronxville firehouse? Just a minute to let the public know how hard he worked. He tore down all that, probably 100 years worth of paint.
Right.
Got down, and it looks amazing.
The side entrance on Palumbo Place to the Bronxville Firehouse had a lot of wood rot, and all the stonework was extremely dirty. So he, at the time, also firefighter Santangelo was helping him with the beginning of that project, and they completely stripped down all the wood on the door, the hinges, they polished everything up. So they redid the light fixtures, so that everything looks like it's brand new, and, you know, it
Beautiful.
was built in 1947.
Beautiful.
He power washed all the brick and everything to make it come back so it looks pretty new. So he did do an amazing job on that entranceway, so,
Beautiful.
yeah, yeah.
And the flagpole, too.
Yeah, he actually he was able to coordinate with the Bronxville Highway Department, and they allowed him to use their bucket truck to go up there and to paint and refinish the flagpole. He got stung by a bee while he was up there, so apparently they had gotten inside the flagpole, but he's okay. And so the flagpole, the base of the flagpole is all polished up now. So yeah, it was completely refurbished on that Palumbo Place entranceway to the Bronxville Firehouse, so it looks great. Yeah,
Well done, Tim.
yeah.
Thanks, Chief.
Okay.
Isam, please.
I sent the board the secretary report last week, so for community outreach for our social media platforms, there were 9 posts in August. I did mention that for our website, we finally are having some data to just gauge and see where people's interests are, and it seems that the hiring process page is the top performing page. Last month, we had 710 visits and 169 new users, so it's great to see that type of feedback, only to know if what we're putting up there is actually being seen and interacted with. And then also I started work on the Fire Prevention Week social media campaign, so I'll be sharing that with the board tomorrow just to let them know about what themes we're going to be working with when Fire Prevention Week occurs. I think for this week or month, it's October 9th to the 15th, right? 16th, yes.
Fire Prevention Week.
Fire Prevention Week, yeah. So I'll share that with the board on what we worked on. For foils, we received 12 foils, and they were all processed. For the grant for the record management process or the project, got notification that this fund should be arriving probably in the next week or two. So I have a meeting with the 2 inventory clerks that hope to be onboarding at the end of the year, as well as a consultant for our records management project. So I'll be providing updates to the board as well for that. With grant writing, unfortunately, some of the updates we received, we were denied the Leary Firefighter Foundation, which was submitted on August 12th for the request of $25,000, and denied for the DHSES for the request of $120,600 for Station 4. Both organizations were sent requests for review on how to improve for the next cycle. And so in terms of just moving forward, still working on the SAFER grant, I'm attending Lexipol webinars and also coordinating with Chief Tween on what we would do for the next cycle this fall for AFG. And then continued research on other opportunities out there for funding for the district. And everything else included, I started working on the fire district election and with Jamie, the budget hearing requirements as well.
So on here, you have a community outreach civil service exam. What exactly are we doing with that? That's going to be posted on the site as far as the...
So the idea came up for the civil service exam happening next year, that there could be an outreach or pretty much anything to notify people that there's an opportunity that they can take the firefighter exam next year. And part of it, what I was proposing to the board is, since we have these online tools, there's an opportunity to do even more widespread outreach. Should, say, anyone, maybe they never thought of the idea to become a firefighter, or maybe they perhaps were intimidated with the idea of taking a civil service exam. I've noted that there are a few areas around that do provide prep classes. That's in person, I think, in Yonkers as one example. But there is an opportunity to do online specifically, and potentially even, if the board is interested, an in-person event should someone, say, want to tour a firehouse or just speak to the firefighters and the chief, or even board members, to gauge if this is a career they want to pursue with fire prevention and safety. And so I think the civil service exam is a great target date should the board be interested in having, say, a campaign, community outreach campaign, and notifying people that this is an option. I know it was noted that for long-term benefits, or at least goals, is to ultimately bring in a new generation of people serving in the fire safety and protection service, and to increase interest as well, and maybe more citizen participation.
So would that tie into the Civic Send?
Yes.
Software?
Yeah, so part of it is, that was one outreach program I was looking at, and Chief Tween and I spoke, and we could provide the board more details. It could be in video format. The issue with what I was mentioning about the Civic Send notification software, that would make a lot of these online tools much easier to distribute. Part of what I was mentioning to the board is, currently it's really great and has been helpful to send out what we have been doing on social media platforms, on our website, via email, but unfortunately a lot of it is also becoming duplicate efforts, and I wanted to notify the board that it's because, not necessarily that there's something missing from Civic Plus, but because of the way it's designed, I think this is also why they have that option, because of our efforts to try and do it all in one go without having to go on different pages every single time, and ultimately become more efficient at what we're trying to achieve. I know, say as one example, for gauging interest in becoming a fire commissioner for the upcoming election, I thought that would be a great, example to gauge if people are actually looking at this for the materials we created and distributed. So that could be one point to see if people are like reading through, if they want to become a fire commissioner, we could easily distribute it through this type of software as well and gauge if people are interacting with it. So that was part of the purpose, is to see if we could improve upon the operations of Civic Plus, which is what Civic Send is.
We could also post a note to the site as far as the election, just,
We have, yes. We posted a note it pops up as a splash display on the website, and so should someone come on and say, oh, this is something of interest, they could follow a link as well to it.
Do we know the date that the exam is yet or not?
No, we haven't received an official date, but I believe it's at the end of April or early May, it sounds like.
Yeah, the filing period's usually only about 30 days, and they don't give you much notice, a couple months.
Yeah, it's a good idea to let everyone know now.
So that was the end of my report. And so should the board be interested, it looks to jump to that item for the Civic Send. That was something I sent the board for consideration, just that it would be an upgrade on the current Civic Plus website, and it would be distributed across, I believe, they gave us a breakdown of the pricing. Did I even think here? Sorry.
I think $4,000 for this year or something to start.
In total, yes, sorry, that I had it ready to go here. Let me pull that up in 1 second here, but yeah, the breakdown. I'm going to pull that email up in 1 second.
Sounds like a good deal.
And just note, it's a one-time setup fee, and I feel like I would be able to do the training. I've seen the resources enough as it is. They offer like an optional training on it, so I wanted to just put that in front as an option if there's a training fee. So for the implementation one time, it's $750. The training is optional, but I've gone over the resources online already, and I feel it's pretty intuitive. The cost from now until the end of our contract for the 4 years is $4,614.46 total. So it's prorated for the remainder of 2022, and then with the annual for 2023 and 2024, it would be $1,995 each year, and this would be added to the current payment plan that we have with them.
Well, do we have a motion for this now, or do you want to?
Seems reasonable, yeah, why not?
I have a motion prepared. There you go. All this paper, and I was like not having it in front of me. Thank you.
Thanks, Susan. All right, so a motion to authorize the secretary to purchase the communication tool Civic Send through Civic Plus for the Eastchester Fire District website for community outreach and recruitment with a one-time implementation fee of $750, one-time virtual training cost of $188, an annual service cost of $1,995. I'm fine with that, so I'll make the motion.
Second it,
Okay, I'll call the roll. Commissioner Laurie?
Aye.
Commissioner Ranalone?
Aye.
Commissioner Keating?
yes.
Commissioner Carlo?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you, commissioners.
So that takes care of that. We're going to move over to payment of bills, all right? Resolution number 113-2022, motion to pay bills and vouchers as presented. The board has been supplied with one set of bills for board approval. Chief Tween has reviewed all prior to the meeting, except certiorari claims and those specifically marked as reviewed by the treasurer. Treasurer has requested the board approve the following. September warrant 920, second warrant number 2, dated 9/27/22, in the amount of $367,838.95. Warrant number 3, dated 9/27/22, for $2,125.57, for a total of $369,964.52. Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
I'll call the roll. Commissioner Laurie?
Aye.
Commissioner Ranalone?
Aye.
Commissioner Keating?
No.
Commissioner Carlo?
Aye.
Motion carried.
And we have on the agenda here, again, MA1 Security Investigate Services. This is the outside service that is being used to investigate the members when they call in. Motion to confirm EFD's continued use of MA1 security and investigate services as warranted, including but not limited to any authority delegated by Chief Tween.
Why are we making the motion? And we already voted on that, and that's still in place, right?
Well, they're still there. We're just not actively using them
Why?
because I, for one, don't feel it's necessary. I don't think that it's abused. Some members do. I think we could use them where we know there is abuse, known abuse, but I have no desire to use these guys every time someone calls in sick or to knock on someone's door. That's just my opinion. But the rest of you guys can take that.
I feel the same way.
I think you want to be you don't want to be selective about who you're looking at. That's probably, I'm not a lawyer, but it may be against the law. So
That's law. What's against law?
just being selectively looking at somebody or someone you perceive might be
Well, for one
an
thing,
absence problem.
well, why would it
Chief
be?
Tween would know better than this. He's dealt with it for
Why would it
a
be
couple
an issue?
years now.
Would it be an
And
issue, for example, if you thought there was someone out on long-term illness and all of a sudden you got word of something, you want to investigate that person? Is that a problem, do you think?
So our attorneys feel that we should be able to have the right to do it if we felt it was necessary, regardless of whether we use that right or not. I hadn't been the one that was choosing when to use them. That was done by the attorneys. So, it's, I can't say any legal, I don't want to give any legal
Good idea.
opinions as to whether you can be selective or not. I think that's a question for our attorneys.
you're not being selective.
I don't think they should be involved.
I wasn't
I don't think-
picking it,
I don't
so it
think the
wasn't-
attorney should be involved in this, but that's just, again, my opinion.
So I say we leave it as is, and they should be doing it, and they should be investigating if there's an issue.
If there's an issue, but if there isn't an issue, if somebody calls in sick and they have
We're not going to talk about someone's.
2 or 3 absences in a year,
We're not
I
gonna
don't
talk-
think it's necessary
I
to.
think there are some of us who know there's an absence problem. I've actually spoken to the chief in your presence, and the chief has admitted that there's an absence
Yes,
problem.
I,
Fair, chief?
with a small number of,
It's okay. Thank you. There's an absence problem. I'll be the one to say it. So let's not get into it. There's an absence problem. I'm hopeful that everybody comes to work every day, but hope springs eternal.
So again, including, but what gets me this, including but not limited to any authority delegated by Chief Tween. So I don't want the lawyers involved in this. Yes, these guys are still they're still in place if you want to use them. I just, at this point in time, do not want to use them at all.
So then you should make a
So-
motion,
Motion here is to keep
Not-
them, keep them continued.
but we made a motion last year to use them. So are you making a motion to not investigate absence issues? You have to do that.
Well, no, I just want to make sure that, well, if we're not doing it, we called it off in exec session, we decided not to use these guys, except, they're still in play, we're not using them. So if that's the way it is right now, then I want to keep it that way, so this motion really does not need to.
So then make the proper
Rewrite.
motion that you're not investigating absence issues.
Well, it's just continued use, so,
continue it as is. When we need them, we'll call them.
We're also in a charge with the union just on this whole thing. So
You
a
can't-
judge may make a decision in the future on whether
I don't want to discuss
it's permitted.
I don't want to discuss it, but you can't stop somebody from making a claim. If there's a claim to be made, that's fine, let them do it, and everything should be hashed out according to the law. That's it, let them do it.
all right, so actually, I'm going to just retract this then.
I just don't know what it is, I just don't,
Yeah, I don't like the way,
Okay.
I don't, yeah.
so we'll
revisit it, but we'll-
approach it the next
Yep.
meeting.
Let's, we put it to the
Move it
next
to
meeting.
the October meeting? Okay.
Yeah, please. Lastly, we have a resolution for Tim Dalton with his New York State pension. Resolution number 116-2022, motion to reimburse Tim Dalton interest owed to the New York State and retirement system as a result of a district clerical error in the amount of $720.62. Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
I'll call the roll. Commissioner Lori?
Aye.
Commissioner Ranalone?
Aye.
Commissioner Keating?
Yes.
Commissioner Carlo?
Aye.
Motion carried.
So lastly, we've got fire district election, and I've got a series of motions they need to read off here for the election resolutions. First one, resolution appointing Board of Election Chairman. Whereas Section 175-A of the town law provides for a system of registration for fire district elections, and whereas a register of eligible fire district voters must be prepared prior to the fire district election, and whereas such register shall be prepared from names of persons who have registered with the Westchester County Board of Elections, now therefore be it resolved that the following resident electors of the Eastchester Fire District are hereby appointed to constitute the Eastchester Fire District Board of Elections for the 2022 Annual Fire District Election. Chairman of Elections, Marissa Eason Smith. And be it further resolved that the Fire District's chairman of the election be compensated in the amount of $100 for her services, that the Board of Elections be compensated in the amount of $100 for their services in preparing the registration records, and the following be appointed as election inspectors at the fire district election to be held on Tuesday, December 13th, 2022, and that they be compensated in the amount of $100.
Is it per day, Paul?
It's per shift. So usually they work, I think, 2 shifts, right?
Yeah, just per shift, and even if they do 2 shifts, it's still 100.
List of inspectors, annual fire district election. The County of Westchester Board of Elections will supply a list of approved election inspectors to utilize the electronic voting machines on election day. And be it further resolved that in case of any of the members appointed herein are unable to or refuse to assume or perform duties required of them, this Board of Fire Commissioners or election chairman may appoint alternates who are resident electors and reassign location as needed. Resolution for preparation of registration rolls. Be it resolved that the Board of Fire Commissioners of the Eastchester Fire District, having heretofore appointed a Board of Elections to comply with the registration and voting procedures set forth in Section 175, 175-A of the town law, does hereby designate on or about the 28th day of November 2022, between the hours of 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. as the date of time of meeting of the Board of Elections to prepare registration rolls for the annual election of the Eastchester Fire District. The Fire District election will be held on Tuesday, December 13th, 2022, between the hours of 2 p.m. and 9 p.m. at the following locations: Leroy Gregory, American Legion Post, numbers 979 40 Bell Road, Bell Road. You have Avenue here. It's a Road or Avenue. I'm not sure, Liaison. I think it's Bell Road.
Road.
Road, okay.
Scarsdale, Tuckahoe Community Center on 77 Columbus Avenue in Tuckahoe, Bronxville Village Hall, 200 Pondfield Road, Bronxville, Eastchester Public Library, 11 Oak Ridge Place, Eastchester. Legal notice. Be it further resolved that a legal notice informing the resident electors of the Eastchester Fire District of this meeting be published one time by the Fire District Secretary in the official newspapers of the Eastchester Fire District between November 19th, between November 19 to 16, or 16 to 19, 2022.
16 and 19, yeah. Apologies for that typo.
Legal notice. Notice of annual election. Please take notice that the annual election of the Eastchester Fire District will take place on Tuesday, December 13th, 2022, between the hours of 2 p.m. and 9 p.m. at the following locations for the purpose of electing one Fire District Commissioner for a 5-year term commencing January 1st, 2023, ending on December 31st, 2027. Only those persons who have registered within the Westchester County Board of Elections on or before the 21st day of November 2022 and have resided in the fire district for at least 30 days prior to the date of the election shall be eligible to vote. Candidates for district office shall file written petitions subscribed by at least 25 qualified voters with the secretary of the fire district at 255 Main Street, Eastchester, New York, no later than November 23rd, 2022 at 4 p.m. Petition forms shall be made available by the secretary upon request. Please take further notice that the Board of Fire Commissioners has provided for absentee ballots for the fire district elections. An applicant for an absentee ballot shall submit an application setting forth his or her name and residence address, including the street and number, if any, or town, and rural delivery route, if any, that he or she is or will be, on the day of the election, a qualified voter of the district in which he or she resides, and that he or she is or will be, on such date, over 18 years of age, a citizen of the United States, and has or will have resided in the district for 30 days next preceding such a date. that he or she is registered in the town, that he or she will be unable to appear to vote in person on the day of the election for which the absentee ballot is requested because he or she is or will be on such a day a patient in a hospital, unable to appear personally at the polling place on such a day because of illness or physical disability, or because his or her duties, occupation, or business will require him or her to be outside the country of his or her residence on such day, because he or she will be on vacation outside the country of his or her residence on each day, or absent from his or her voting residence because he or she is detained in jail or awaiting action by a grand jury, or awaiting trial, or is confined in prison after conviction for an offense other than a felony, and all other information as required by law. Such application must be received by the district secretary at least 7 days before the election, if the ballot is to be mailed to the voter, or the day before the election if the ballot is to be delivered personally to the voter or his or her agent, by order of the Board of Fire Commissioners, Fire District, Town of Eastchester, New York. I think that is it.
2 resolutions
One
for the
more,
voting
sorry,
machine.
hold on a
Oh, yeah.
second.
Go.
Lastly, resolution to use and transport Westchester County electronic voting machines. The Fire Board Chairman is authorized to execute all documents provided by the Westchester County Board of Election and authorized vendors for the use and transportation of electronic voting machines for the December 13th, 2022 annual Fire Commissioners Election. Resolution for training, swearing-in ceremony. I don't believe there's any training this year. I haven't gotten anything. I'm an inspector, so, but I'll read this. Polling election officials who come to the training and swearing-in ceremony at the Tuckahoe Community Center at 6 p.m. will be paid the amount of $50. Co-election officials will be paid $25 for setting up, and polling officials pay on election day will be $100. I know last year I went down there to swear them in.
Yes, it seems historically that there was a swearing-in ceremony, and so that's something that the district decided to hold. So I don't know if you're speaking of the training with Westchester County Board of Elections or separate from that.
Well, as far as, I don't think there's any training going on.
Okay.
I know we did a swearing-in ceremony.
Yes, yes.
And I came down there for that, but I don't, as far as training,
Okay.
I'm not aware of any right now this year. I'm not sure they even have any.
Okay,
Right now, it's almost end of September, so I don't think they had any this year for even the main election in November.
I see.
So I think we'll just have the swearing ceremony.
Okay, that sounds good.
And the amounts are statutory, right? So everybody knows. The amounts are statutory.
I'm sorry?
The amounts are statutory.
$100, I think it's discretionary, isn't it? That's
I believe that was the max that was allowed.
the max allowed, right? But
Yes.
we-
And that was decided for last year. I haven't been notified, and Cheryl didn't notice anything to be different for this year, but I could circle back just to double check. But she did review this and said that those look all good. So,
Okay, 916 is not here. Well, we don't count QB, do we? No.
Are you making a motion for that? Paul, did you make a motion for that?
What?
That, the election?
the resolutions for the election?
Yeah, we did.
You just read them. Do we need to vote on it?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right. I just
A
want to,
lot of resolutions, okay.
yeah.
Can I get a second?
Second.
I'll call the roll. Commissioner Laurie?
Aye.
Commissioner Ranalone?
Aye.
Commissioner Keating?
I'm going to say no because I think it should be run with the general election. Shouldn't duplicate our efforts.
Well, we could do it for next year, but it's too late now for this year.
Understood.
So,
You ain't gonna even do it next year. That takes a long time. That does not take overnight, Commissioner Carlo. That takes a long time. That's gotta go through the,
I'm saying if we're going to do it all, it would be
but
for
I'm
next
just
year,
saying, it's gotta go through the whole total New York State Assembly.
Paul's just saying
then-
not
then-
tonight.
Then New York Senate. That is not gonna take place by next year or the year after.
but- Noted, okay?
Commissioner Carlo?
Aye.
Motion carried.
All right, that being said, public comments. Michael, please come up and your name and address, please.
How are you?
How have you been?
Good evening. Good night.
Mike Parisi, 16 Lockwood Avenue. I'd like to talk about the quarters of Engine 30. They're coming along really well from what I could see as from the outside. I saw that the door was open a couple of days ago, and looks like the floor is already poured. I'm sure the basement is done. I'm sure the steel is in. The grounds are starting to look good. There's some paint work that has to be done that we talked about at the last meeting, so maybe we should do that before the winter comes in. The weather is good, the facade up in the front and in the rear of the building. And I think we're moving in the right direction. The Band-Aid and rusty nail era is over. We're taking care of our firehouses,
Hopefully.
okay, hopefully, and hopefully we will go forward on that. This is to protect life and property, and also to make our homes worthy to sell in the event that you would decide to move out of the district. You know, we're not living in a frontier town, we're living in a town where there are people. And these firehouses were put up years ago when they had horse and wagons, and they had them laid out in the areas where fire protection is needed. We have schools, we have hospitals, we have railroad stations, we have 3 districts that the fire department of Eastchester services. Let's go forward and let's go in the right direction. You need firefighters, get the firefighters in. That's my opinion. I don't want to see our taxes go up, but God forbid, I don't want to see an 80-year-old woman or a 2-year-old child in a house that is burning and we don't have fire protection for those people or for the district. Think about it. You took an oath to be on the board. You took an oath to make sure that the fire district in this town is protected. Just like we hold the chief responsible for what he does with his firefighters and the training that goes on here. We have a good fire district. We have personnel here that do the right thing. Let's continue it in the right direction. We're not going back. Roll the board, yawn out, and go in the right direction with it. Thank you, and keep
Thank
up the
you.
good work.
Well said.
You want me to mention that construction schedule that I received from Catherine Schaefer today from Vinco? There was a couple of things.
You could, I was asking you that, and I guess the floor tested fine, right, as far as moisture?
They're going to be doing the epoxy floor coating on October 5th. It should take about a week. The garage door is going to be replaced either just before or just after the epoxy installation. The fireproofing for the steel in the basement is going to be occurring this week in the basement. And the drain, the storm drains tying into the town storm drains, the overflows, we're waiting for permits from the highway department, and the electrical work continues. They have the new lights on the apparatus floor and the basement. They just have some more electrical work to finish up, so they are moving along.
Boiler, the new boilers in?
We haven't, I got a question on that from the contractor today, what's going on, and my understanding is that we're waiting for the legal contract, that AIA, the architect contract, to be drawn up between Joe Paterno and the attorneys. Then the other, the people that won the bid will sign off, and then, you know, because the bid is not a legal contract, so they're drawing up the engineering contract right now. I don't know, Jamie, are you familiar with that? Like what we did with the past, that AIA contract?
Yeah, we have to sign a contract, but we can't sign anything before this referendum expires.
Okay.
But they will have heat in there before December?
Yeah, I don't know. It's, you know.
We have to, until after.
Because we're not gonna put anybody in that firehouse unless there's heat in there.
You've had space heaters now for what, past 3 years?
Yeah, it's 2 or 3 years ago, we put in electric baseboard heat in the kitchen, the bathrooms, and the dormitory. So yeah, we haven't had a boiler in there in over 3 years. So those electric heaters are still there. But the big thing is the next phase, which we just awarded the contract, we're waiting on their permissive referendum so that we can pay for it, is they're going to be gutting the bathrooms, right? They're turning the old deputy chief's office into a bathroom, and the current bathroom, the door entranceway is moving, or actually the deputy chief's door is moving. So they're going to be making a lot of dust. They're going to be cutting through a brick wall or concrete wall. So, you know, we have to wait till they get those bathrooms at least demolished before we could even think about moving in, because it's going to be so much dust.
No, I agree with you. I don't want no one getting sick.
Yeah, so I don't know the timing of that. What's the permissive referendum, 28 days, 30 days or so? So 30 days, so before October 12th, they can't even step foot on the property, so. But they said, you know, as soon as they get the okay, they can start within 3 days, so.
Thanks, Chief.
Okay.
If I may.
Yeah, Commissioner, comments?
Yeah, I just want to give a rundown of my activities over the past month. I've checked on the progress of the work at Station 4 several times over that month, and as Mike and the chief both said the fence is down in front of the firehouse, so it looks a little bit better. On September 11th, I attended a 9/11 ceremony at Town Hall, attended the local 916 annual picnic, attended a 9/11 ceremony at Kensico Dam, at which time Captain Phil Pinto's name was added to the one of the tablets behind the rising sculpture at the dam. On September 13th, at the invitation of Alan Benedict, attended a 9/11 assembly at Tuckahoe High School with Richard Foliano and Maria Sayag for the 11th and 12th graders. And I gave my annual 9/11 speech at that time, and Maria gave her 9/11 speech. Maria lost her husband on 9/11. On September 16th, met with maintenance mechanic Tim Dalton and toured all the fire stations inside and out to check on all the maintenance issues and repairs needed. And I'm telling you, every firehouse needs a lot of work. And we, I want to say it before, but we can thank previous boards for the situation that we are in now. They knew they had problems, maintenance problems, floor problems, updating equipment, and they just put it off because they didn't want to raise taxes. And now it falls upon us. And we have to do it before the firehouses collapse. Bronxville, once we're finished with Station 4, Station 3, the Bronxville Firehouse, we're going to have to start working on that. That floor is also collapsing, okay? We could put it off if, we can't raise the budget. We can always put it off and probably have to take the engine out of there and the firefighters and leave that firehouse empty. So it needs to be done. September 18th, along with Isong, and I ran the 5K race in Tuckahoe. She beat me. And tomorrow night, September 28th, I will be a guest of Alan Benedict at a Rotary Club dinner at Chow's restaurant, and that's because of the going to Tuckahoe High School and giving my 9/11 speech.
Also, tomorrow, up at Lake Isle, they're going to have the 9/11 moving memorial come up there. And that'll be up there from, I think, 9 o'clock until, what, 1 o'clock, Paul?
I don't know.
But it's, anyone want to view it, it's open to the public, because I'll be picking up students from Tuckahoe High School, bringing them up there, and the Rotary Club is sponsoring that also.
I think they do the schools in the mornings, and then the public can go in the afternoons.
Right.
So,
I'm doing that from 9 until noon with the school.
Right.
And then after that, they're going to have the VFW is doing a rifle ceremony at the end, at the closing time of the memorial service. I think it's
Thursday?
tomorrow. I'm sorry,
Thursday at
Thursday, I'm
4.
sorry.
No?
No, it's tomorrow.
Okay.
It's tomorrow, my mistake, it's tomorrow. And
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the closing ceremonies aren't until Thursday. They brought it there today, and it's going to be there for 2 days, Wednesday and Thursday.
all right.
So
But they're also having a firing squad tomorrow.
Okay.
At Lake Isle for the closing of the day,
Oh,
I should say. But it's open tomorrow at 9 o'clock because I'm transporting students from the Tuckahoe High School to there from 9 until noon. And then I'll be attending the dinner with Commissioner Ranalone.
Well, thanks, Anthony. Any other comments from the board? Okay, on that note, I am
Got a
going...
motion to pay the bills.
We did.
We're just going to, moment of silence.
Yeah, moment of
Sorry,
silence.
moment of silence for Lawrence Mignon, who passed away earlier today.
Correct.
Okay. Motion to adjourn, all in favor?
Aye.
Great, great, thanks, guys. Good night.
The flags have flown at half-staff?